Wow, Kristine, here we are at episode 100.
I can't even believe that. Epic 100, and it's coming to you right now.
And now,
Aye, aye.
I'm the captain now.
coming to you from the K2 studios in San Diego, California.
This sounds great. You sound amazing.
I always sound amazing.
It's the world famous
Everybody's hitting off like BFFs.
Kris and Kristine Show.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How are you guys doing today? Thank you so much for listening, and I am Kris.
And I'm Kristine, and welcome to the, yes, you guessed it, the 100th episode of the Kris and Kristine Show. Do-do-do-do.
Fantastic. This is great. I never thought that we would actually make it to episode 5, let alone episode 100, and here we are.
Episode 5, that's a really random one to choose because that was the one where you proposed to me. So yes, we made it to episode 5 and 95 past that. But before we jump into today's show, how about that intro? That is so fantastic. I had so many memories coming back on that new intro, and listeners, I'm sure you loved it too. If you've been tuning in and listening to the Kris and Kristine Show for a while, then it probably brought back little memories of all of our fun things, but never will I forget, I'm the captain now.
That was one of our episodes. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
That new intro is specifically designed for the 100th episode, but we are going to continue using that from here on out. So that is our new intro, and I hope you like it the way we like it.
Yeah, I love it so much, and I know our listeners are going to love it because it's like completely us. And you spent, I don't even know how many hours, but I know this podcast is a labor of love from you to me and to all of our listeners. And so for that, the world thanks you, Kris.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate this.
Yeah, we do. We've been looking forward to this all week long. We have been counting down the minutes to this specific episode, and it's finally here, Kris. Can you believe it?
I know, 100. Most people, they'll do this whole seasons type of thing. Like they'll do 10 episodes, season 1, season 2. We don't really do seasons. Actually, we can't do seasons because where our host is set up. But regardless of that, so what we do is just do 1, 2, 3, and continue. So here we are on the official episode 100. And because it is the 100th episode, we have a fantastic show in store. It's probably going to be a very long episode, so buckle up, Buttercup.
And then everybody went click and they turned it off for later. But you don't want it to tune out, even though it is a longer episode, because we're going to be having some so what is it called? A blast from the past, right? Blast from the past for this specific episode.
So what I have is clips of previous episodes where we had fantastic guests lined up for these episodes. Because remember, in 2020, we actually started getting into more guests for our podcast. And so we got a few that we actually liked, actually quite a bit here on my list, and I look at it. And these are some of those interview clips from some of those episodes. And if you did not make the list, I am sorry. We can't put everybody out here. We can only do a good handful.
But we do love you all, and we're so grateful for every single individual that has come into the K2 studios for their epic interviews because, we're such a big deal that we fly people in from all over the world, right, Kris?
That's right. That's absolutely right. So our very first clip comes from episode 34. That was Rob Kreider. He was a CHP officer and on his fun time, a race car driver.
Yeah, it seems like it's an oxymoron, but it actually goes together really well.
And here is his clip.
Like his wheels are turning as he's hearing roll cage and amateur racers. And it's like Ford versus Ferrari is our movie. We love that. And so I could just see him like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start putting the stickers on the side. You're gonna see me on the racetrack, and then he's like, Kristine, you got to learn how to drive stick so you can be my backup driver.
That's the thing too. She can't drive a stick shift.
Oh, shame on you! You got to get her in the Z and teach her, man.
Yeah, I might.
But hey, you don't want to blow up the clutch in the 370Z, so I get it. But I've actually raced a 370Z Nismo, so I'm very familiar with that car. It's a very, very good car. Probably one of the best balanced cars I've known for just understeer, oversteer, and power. And so in San Diego, though, you have a group of people called the Sports Car Club of America, and they race at Qualcomm Park. And you can take your Nissan 370Z and totally just like you have it right now. You have to change nothing. and you can borrow a motorcycle helmet, put it on, and you can drive that car around the parking lot, around a bunch of cones, around a course, one car at a time, as fast as you want. And then every lap you go, they give you your time, and you race against similar cars. And at the end of it, they say, Kris is the winner. And so it's called autocross, and you can find that information on www.scca.com for local races. And I've done a lot of autocrossing my life during my racing career, and it really teaches you a lot about car control, and it's very inexpensive. I think entry fees for the weekend might be like $40.
Okay.
And it's super, super fun. So if you want to play with your Z, it's the safest place because you're not going to wreck that Z because you have a nice car. You don't want to hurt it. Yeah. Worst case scenario, you spin it out, you knock over an orange traffic cone. I promise you, it busts right out. So you're good.
I think that he's about to cry right now. He's so happy, and I think you've just officially made yourself a new best friend, Rob.
Well, I have a website called robkreider.com, and on there is a bunch of articles. And one of the things I do as a writer is I write a lot of technical articles for racers. And so there's articles you could read, Kris, that tell you how to basically build your 370Z and the safety equipment you might want to use, or the tires you want to use, or tire pressure, and kind of walks you through how to go autocrossing. So there's definitely links there. And then my racing team has a website that I'm very proud of because we keep up to date a lot of times. So it's Team 559. That's the area code for the Fresno Central Valley. So our team is called Double Nickel 9 Motorsports. That's Double Nickel 9 is 559. But if you go to team559.com, you can see Double Down, our documentary, and you click on the media archive links, and there's just pages and pages and pages of magazine articles and newspaper articles and tons of technical information.
Oh gosh, Kris, that brings back so many different memories. And, one of the things, though, that's come up this week for me, comparing or connecting it to this specific interview, is I still don't know how to drive stick. And I keep asking you.
What is up with that?
I keep asking you, do you not want to let me drive the Z?
Yeah, you can drive if you want, baby.
Yeah?
I gotta find a nice open parking lot and lots of room.
Why? Do you think I'm gonna drive off a cliff or something?
That's very possible.
I want to drive it. I would look so hot in your car.
Oh, I think you would.
I mean, not just in the passenger seat, but people would be like, she has skills.
When I see a chick driving the Z,
a lady?
A lady driving a 370Z on Instagram or something like that, I'm like, ooh, hello, how you doing?
Exactly. I know.
All right, so our next episode we're going to promote here from our Kris and Kristine show, Warehouse of Files.
Yes, it's one of my faves, and she is just fantastic. We're going to hear from Carrie Pomeroli.
That when we get out of this, I just want to see my friends. Like, what do we look like? A little heftier. If anybody looks in too good a shape, their friendship is over. Well, if you have a weight bench in your garage and you're using it for anything else than folding clothes, I'm not your friend.
Well, I look at it like this. Technically, carb loading is what Olympic athletes do. So we're just, modeling after a best practice. Yes.
We are carb loading. There's no marathon, but I'm carb loading anyway.
Or is it bulk season? That's you always get excuses. It's bulk season right now.
I feel like we're all storing up for the winter, but yet it's May and it's 85 degrees. And I'm like, I'm just going to get a bathing suit with a skirt like my mother always wanted me to and call it a day.
Yeah, it's definitely every mother's modesty dream right now where we're like, it's okay. Yeah. There's a little extra fluff. We'll just cover it up, board shorts,
I'm like,
skirt.
That's why God invented the moo-moo. I'm totally they should have a website and just call it fat dresses. That's all I want right now. I'm just what is flowy? I'm just going to become my mother and shop at Chico's and get all those flowy clothing.
I love it so
much. And dress like the Bible. It's what they wore in the Bible.
Definitely. Well, Carrie, you are a funny gal, and we would love to know when you first discovered you were funny.
So, you guys, I went to a very conservative Christian school in Michigan, and I'm Italian, and it was a Dutch Reformed Christian school. And they bussed in inner city kids from Detroit. And we started doing your mama jokes in first grade. Wow. So I think that was probably the start of my comedy career was with Quan Paxton, and he was 6 and he had a gold tooth. I was doing Def Comedy Jam from first grade at the Christian school. So I think when you're a comedian, you don't have a normal childhood. You're not necessarily the head cheerleader. So you use humor as a coping mechanism. I think that's a cliche, but it happens to be true.
You know what? That totally is mind blowing right now because we have 3 boys together. Well, 3 boys and we're a blended family. So Chris's youngest, our youngest, is getting ready to turn 8. And our boys have a podcast and his role is to be the funny guy. And so he's always cracking jokes. But you're right. It's totally a coping mechanism.
I think that funny people get away with a lot more than non-funny people. It's like that 8-year-old is the one that's going to do well in life. You want to be nice to him.
Well, we try.
Yeah, definitely. So were you like the class clown when you were in high school?
No, but I was the one that would get picked on and they thought it was funny. Like I had a football player boyfriend and they used to joke, yeah, he's not very smart, but he can lift heavy objects. And the football players would love to antagonize me and get me mad at him for stupid reasons because they thought it was funny when I was mad. And I think comedy comes from a place of anger. This is something that I've realized.
Oh my gosh, she's so right about comedy coming from a place of anger because I've been around so many people in the past year since that interview. And it looks like that, like humor is a good coping mechanism.
Are you directing something towards me?
No, I wasn't calling you out, but I was also just thinking of different people that I've interacted with over the course of the last year. And I think that she's totally right on.
Oh, that was fantastic.
And before we move on, Carrie Pomeroli I haven't even shared this with you. She's out and starting on tour again in September and October, live shows all across the country. And so definitely look her up and check out her tour schedule. And she also is appearing on a number of different TV shows on the Now Network. And I think it's called Kingdom TV. I think that's more of a faith-based one. But yeah, she's definitely getting a lot more recognition and popularity now that COVID is coming to a close.
Fantastic. Well, our next clip we have comes from episode 40, and this is when we had a reality TV star on the show. This was Luke Cucurullo. Did I spell it right? Cucurullo. He was on a TV show, Married at First Sight. It was like a dating game show, like kind of like a reality show or something like that. And here is his show.
Lifetime hit show, Married at First Sight.
Was that one of those Christmas movies?
I've not watched a lot of Lifetime programming, but I do know what you're talking about. It's like a Hallmarky movie that they play a lot of on there.
Yeah. So what was your show about?
It was a reality show, and I'm going to try to keep this as unbiased as possible because I'm slightly jaded from this experience.
You can be jaded. This is your place to be jaded.
I haven't never seen the show, so I can't have no opinion one way or the other. You know what I'm saying?
So it's a show where you tell 3 experts kind of what you're looking for in a potential partner, and then you go to they say, oh, we found someone for you. You go to the altar blind, and then you meet your partner at the altar, and then they film you for 2 months of being married. You get married.
So you actually marry them.
Oh, you actually marry them. So I am divorced.
Do you take the blind?
Well, I'm divorced and Kristine's divorced. Hey, we're all divorced here. It's all good.
And we had no blindfold on. So you take the blindfold off before you say I do? Or you
I don't have a blindfold. So they let the groom in 2 hours before they let the bride in to build some tension, you know. And then, you know, they open the doors, big reveal, and the bride walks down the aisle.
Okay, so you mentioned that you tell these experts. So are they like old school? I watched, you know, the play Fiddler on the Roof, and it's like matchmaker, make me a match. Is it like you're looking for your matchmaker to find you the right person and then set you up in basically an arranged marriage? Is that what this is?
Yes, but reality versus, I guess, what is perceived to be are slightly different.
Well, tell us more. What do you mean?
So, yes, you kind of sit down, talk to each person, and you're like, this is what I'm looking for in a partner. And then they decide collectively who to match you with.
Interesting.
So they make the choice for you who they think that you would be. Do they ever try to like throw a curveball at you guys and throw someone completely not your type at all?
So that was why, in case you guys are not familiar, if you did any bit of research, I am the most hated person on that show of all time.
I don't hate you, dude. I mean,
I'm just letting you know, still to this day.
So here, I'll be honest. I did a little bit of research and I read about it and I was like, that's not the guy that I had interaction with, so I'm going to choose to not believe it. And you can ask Kris. I kind of tend to be Pollyanna. So in my world, you are the victim of people's criticism. So that's how we view you. So tell your story. This is your stage, Luke.
Oh, I've told this story so many times. We don't need to dive into it too much. But yes, they, in my opinion, gave me the complete opposite of what I was looking for. Aww. And then, you know, I hope nothing bad happens. And then every week they're like, sit on the couch. Tell her you're not into her. And it was just like we had to film that scene. Oh God, we filmed that scene so many times. Like every day.
And they feed you lines like that? Like what to say? Like how to like respond to what she says?
We're not allowed to talk about that kind of stuff.
Okay.
We're given subject matter to discuss.
I'm sure that's all very, very scripted, but you know, it is the way it is, I guess.
Yeah, but it sounds like you have some interesting experience with dating, and I was doing a little bit of research about you, and it seems like you are passionate about like helping people find love and like helping connect individuals. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I really do enjoy connecting individuals, I would say. Not just dating, but in general connecting people. I did own a speed dating business for a short period of time.
Wow.
Which I found was a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, so I have some big news. I have the gossip. I'm going to spill the tea right now.
Oh, what, baby?
So Luke has found love.
No way.
Yes, he has. And he has this very sweet partner, and she and him now share 2 puppies. And Luke has emerged into photography, and he is really doing some incredible work in photography. So you definitely need to find him over on Instagram. He goes by Luke Kooks on Instagram, and you can see some of his work. And because I follow him on Instagram and I follow his partner. I think it's his girlfriend is what the title is, but I never like to just assume. But they have the cutest puppies. They look like they could be like sisters, brothers, cousins of Clover.
Oh,
just littler.
Oh, Clover, little buddies for Clover.
Yeah, but he looks so happy, and so I love being able to listen back to some of these clips and to like hear about where they were compared to where people are at now and like pursuing their passions and their dreams. And so I hope that everybody would be happy for Luke, that he's no longer the most hated man in reality TV. I think that would be like others. There's this new, so on that show, we were talking about the Love is Blind experiment also with where the people like they dated through a pod and then they got married or they got engaged to the person without ever having seen them. And it's kind of a similar situation where like one girl's played out to be the victim, but they did this after the altar special. And you really see the guy that was like painted as the hero and the sweet guy ends up being just I was going to call it a D-bag, but I'm not going to say the actual word, but just not very nice.
As you can tell, folks, Kristine is a huge fan of that show.
But all of this to say that, you know, when we watch TV, it's not always the reality. And it's been really nice to get to know even from a social media perspective, just what a wonderful person Luke is. And we're so happy for him to have found happiness. Right, Kris?
Oh, that's very sweet. Look at all lovey-dovey on the show today. All right, so we're going to turn this around a little bit today. For the next clip we have comes from episode 43, and we had Chris Gordon. Now, Chris Gordon was just a regular guy one day when just so happened something horrible happened to him. He got that flesh-eating bacteria
called necrotizing fasciitis.
Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
Because I can't pronounce that. But he got that at his house. Way worse than COVID, kids. And here's his clip.
Do it. Let's roll the dice.
Did they give you any kind of pain meds or something?
Yes. One of them was called ketamine, and to quote Happy Gilmore, it's the devil, mama.
Really?
It does a really good job of taking away the pain, but also gave me awful hallucinations.
Oh wow! So you're on a trip then.
Yes, and so I barely remember talking to the surgeon, and I had a very optimistic, let's go get him attitude, which he wasn't really used to coming from patients in my setting. They usually are more worried, usually crying, usually scared for their lives. And I was quite the opposite.
Well, but to your defense, you didn't know exactly what you were dealing with other than your arm is really swollen, you had a really bad cut, and you have sepsis. And you're having surgery for, did you even know what it was for?
No. I can't remember if he told me during that time. I definitely learned afterwards, though.
Right.
Now, did they ever knock you out at this point?
Yes. I was in a coma for almost 5 days.
Was that medically induced, or that happened on its own?
That was medically induced for the surgeries.
Yeah.
No, wait, you just said surgeries, plural. So you didn't just have one.
No. They first had to go in and take away all of the infected tissue. Basically, they filleted me like a fish.
Oh wow.
All the way from the back of my hand up to the base of my neck.
Ugh. Ow.
And as my wife would later tell me, they were measuring the extent of the infection with a marker, and by the time that the infection reached my neck and they had drawn that line at the base of my neck, my wife left the room.
Oh my goodness.
That was too much for her.
Yeah, I would be too. Wow. So backtrack a little bit. When they say infection, at that point, did they diagnose what it really was?
Yes, they knew it was necrotizing fasciitis.
Which means?
Flesh-eating bacteria.
What? From your garage?
From my garage wall. It's a group A strep, which is short for streptococcus. And the strand I had was called Streptococcus pyogenes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And so my strep had been around our family for the past couple weeks. And so that's basically what caused this.
Like strep throat?
Yes.
Just a different strain?
Yes.
But what's it doing on your garage door?
Just hanging out, waiting for someone to scratch their stupid hand on it.
So one thing that struck me from the very beginning when we interviewed Kris, and then since then, as I've continued to follow, Kris Gordon continued to follow his journey, is just the amount of resilience and positivity he has.
Oh, he's a great guy. He's actually a marathon runner, and he still runs to this day. He had a podcast. I'm not sure if he's still doing it, but he's
been interviewed on all different kinds of podcasts. He's a keynote speaker, a motivational speaker. He's keeping busy.
Oh, what a great guy. Kris, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your incredible story. Wow, it's going to be really rough to go through those things. I mean,
but then overcoming it and still maintaining like joy and positivity and light.
That's probably what it is too. When you come out of something like that, you probably are really thankful for a lot of things, and it brings so much joy to your life. Like everything brings you joy at that point. You're not so much a grumpy butt so much. I would think.
Well, I don't know. You've gone through a bunch of stuff, and you're still grumpy as they come. So, Kris Gordon, you can come and teach Kris with a K some positivity lessons.
Hey, speaking of positivity, we are featured on Apple Podcast. We're not one of the featured.
Woo-hoo.
So on Apple, in the Apple Podcast player, you can leave reviews for people for different podcasts, ones that you like, and
some that you would rather not like.
Yes, I think you can do that too. But we have printed out a small list of some of the reviews that we got on the Kris and Kristine show.
Okay, but I have a question. Are there any reviews that you brought on here that gave us like half a star or 0 stars and said, don't quit your day job?
Let me look. Let me see here. Oh, this one comes in from Joe Blow. Joe Blow says, you guys are wonderful. Huh.
Oh, that's so nice. But nobody is like, don't quit your day job or worst podcast I've ever heard.
No, but seriously, here are a list of some of the reviews. One review, we're not going to mention who these reviews are. We're just going to say that the reviews are. So the first one says, what an awesome show with 2 amazing hosts who keep up the energy flowing with their great humor and engaging interactive style. I love it.
Aw, the humor must have been because of me, because I'm so funny.
That's right.
Next one. These hosts care about their guests, and it shows. Great questions, rich dialogue, interesting conversations. Great job, Kris and Kristine.
Oh, fantastic. The next next one I have here says, this podcast has incredibly high production value, rivaling top-notch syndicated radio shows.
Ooh.
If you like conversation about various topics between two hosts with great chemistry, give this show a try.
Okay, tell the truth. Did you write that?
No, I did not. I did not write it.
That's like speaking your love language. You look like you're about to cry right now because you're so touched by that one.
I know, I am.
Next one that I loved said, from my very first listen, I thought, I love these people. You're so well balanced and your light comes through so bright. Keep it up.
Oh, that's great. And the next clip I have, or the next review I have is, the Kris and Kristine Show is a wonderful, positive podcast. Both hosts have energy on par with any television host and offer lots of great advice on relationships, gratitude, and how to navigate our modern, ever-changing world. They do this that make it sound effortless. It really is something. Definitely subscribe and get to know this great show.
Oh, that's so cute. And then our last review that we're going to share, there's plenty more, but this one says, this is a really cute family show. You get drawn into this family and they all just really have fun. Oh, they just really have a fun way of interacting. It's worth a listen for sure. And with that, just a reminder that we would love for you to hop on over to Apple and review us. Leave some comments, not just the stars. We love to read your comments. And I think that Kris tapes them up to the bathroom mirror and reads them in the morning.
It's my positivity. It's like my little note. You know those little positivity posters
the affirmations.
They have?
It's your daily affirmations.
Yes.
I'm a really great producer. I'm really funny.
Yes, thank you so much. Hey, speaking of podcasting, there's one podcaster that's been doing it for a very
You said that. Podcaster.
Yeah, make fun of me now. Come on now. So this podcaster, we've had a chance to have this great podcaster on our show. He actually teaches podcasting to people, and he's been on a gazillion different shows, and he's been doing it for like 16, 17 years from like the very beginning. And he was so nice to get this wonderful podcaster, Dave Jackson, on the show with us. And it was episode 48. So here's episode 48, a clip of that with Dave Jackson.
So for our listeners that are tuning in, if you haven't figured out, Kris is a huge fan, and so am I, of Dave Jackson and his work. And I'll tell you, Dave, how I came to know a bit more about you, because Kris was consistently talking about School of Podcasting, is you happened to send us a link to an episode about being successful in marriage after divorce. And so can you tell us a little bit about your background as it relates to marriage and divorce?
Yeah, marriage and divorce it sounds like it's my hobby, but I've been married twice. I've been divorced twice. And if I'm good at anything, I'm good at having friendly divorces. But
That's a good one.
Yeah, my first marriage lasted, I was with her for 15 years. We dated for 5 years. We were married for 10. And unfortunately, we spent ourselves into bankruptcy trying to have a kid because she had some issues. She had one ovary, which I knew when I married her, and a couple other things. And it just, finally a doctor looked at us because we were putting fertility treatments on credit card.
Wow.
Is that expensive?
Oh, it's thousands of dollars. And it was every time we did it, I'm like, this is really a bad idea. Like we really shouldn't do this. But when your wife is crying and wants a baby and so do you.
Oh yeah.
And so finally this one doctor looked at us and just said, I hate to you guys can't conceive. It was either that. There was like one other sort of treatment that was like $10,000 a pop, and we couldn't even sniff that. So when that happened, unfortunately, because we were so far in debt, I took a different position at my job that had me travel. And looking back, I go, oh, that was the dumbest move ever. Right when my wife really, really needed me, I took off. I'd be home maybe 4 days, and then I'd be gone for 3, and I'd be home for 4, So I wasn't gone all the time, but I should have been there. And so looking back, I can go, yeah, okay, there was mistake number 1. And unfortunately, she became an alcoholic. She had that in her family, and all sorts of other things ensued. Yeah. So that was marriage number 1, and it just came to the point when we got bankrupt. It was a matter of how we were going to save the house, and that's when she admitted she had cheated on me, and I was like, okay, well, that's enough of that. So
well, I'm sorry, man. That's horrible.
Well, it's fine. I talked to her last week. We're still friends. It's just one of those things where we both kind of look back and go, wow, we just got dealt a really bad hand in a way. And it's like, so, and I'm really happy she's got a guy that treats her great. And I'm like, that's awesome. My second marriage, I think we both kind of married the idea and not the person. And by that, I mean, wow, here's somebody that both of us wanted, somebody who goes to church and shares their faith. And for me, I was like, oh my gosh, and she has kids. Cause I wanted to have kids, never had the chance. This will be fun. And I think we got kind of just tied up in the idea of like, wow, this person is awesome. And one of those, it's funny because she later admitted, she goes, I didn't realize I was doing this, but I think I bullied you into marrying me. And I go,
really?
Yeah. Well, here's why, because she lived in Cleveland, I lived in Akron, which is about an hour apart. So it was this long distance thing, and I had to go back to school because, again, the sales guys went bad. I lost my job, and I went back to school to get a teaching degree because my original degree was in electronic engineering. I'd kind of just fallen into training. And so it's really easy to get along with someone when you only see them on the weekend. And I always said, yeah. And I always said, hey, when I graduate, I need to like move to Cleveland and we need to like date kind of normal and make sure we can get along. And that turned into, you need to put a ring on it or I'm leaving. So right there, if somebody does that to you, that's a pretty red flag. So I was like, okay, and then that turned into, I want to get married like 2 weeks after you graduate and just all sorts of other things. And so once we did get married and everything was like, if I just do this, she'll be happy and I can focus on, graduating. And it just was one of those things once we got married and started spending, 24/7 with each other, you're like, oh, wow, there's a lot about you that I didn't quite realize. So to our credit, I think we were in and out of counseling for about 8 years and we had been separated twice. And it was just a case where the one day she said, I think we should be separated again. Ooh. And I said, I'm willing to do whatever you want to do. I said, if we want to go back to counseling, that's fine. I said, just realize it's going to take both of us and it's going to take everything we have to really make this work. Well, according to her, that insinuated that she wasn't pulling her weight. And I was like just stating, I'm like, no, we both need to do that. And she said, or we could just get divorced. And I went, you know what? At this point, I'm down for that. So,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the end of that. And I was kind of bummed because I had spent at that point 8 years.
Wow, that was a big interview for us, wasn't it?
Oh, gosh. I listen to Dave's show like every single week, and he's done a few other shows. And all the podcasting tricks that I have used to create this fantastic show, I kind of learned or copied from Dave what he's been talking about and things like that. So he kind of dives into more of the technical stuff. He does a lot of the other stuff.
But we got the story behind the man in our episode, and I really loved that, and we really connected with Dave. And we've had like I would say a friendshipy as you can be from a distance, but he's a big supporter of our show and gives us shout outs. And I just love that. And he's just such a kind person. It's been so great.
Oh, that's fantastic. And speaking of podcasting, I first started listening to podcasts probably 2009, maybe. I think there wasn't a lot of podcasts back then, maybe a handful of them and stuff like that. So when I actually got a chance to reach out to the very first podcaster that I ever listened to back in 2009, Jonathan Strickland. Woo! He was from the How Stuff Works group of podcasts. I think he was on the Tech Stuff show. Right. And I think he still does that show today, but don't quote me on that. But we had a chance to have Jonathan Strickland, the very first podcaster that I ever listened to on our show. And it was episode 54, and here he is.
Quasi-therapy. We talk through things on the show.
Yeah, we didn't think that anything would happen of it. Like, I got started, I'm like, okay, just do this for fun. Let's just play with this like a new toy. Let's just play with it. And then people responded, and they seemed to like it. So, I don't know. Who knows?
But it's going along with what you're saying, that you don't know what the reach is or the impact is. And whenever you're talking about something, that it could inspire somebody to do something unique and different with their life. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, that's one of the goals I always have in my show, is that I tell people, yeah, it's a show about technology, but really, when you peel back the layers and you look at the underlying philosophy beneath all the tech talk, it's really a show that emphasizes compassion and critical thinking. Those are like the two things I really want listeners to walk away taking as important. That the tech stories are really interesting, but by applying compassion and critical thinking, then you can really dissect what's important in these stories, and you can see how things went wrong in the stories that where things go wrong, and you can see how things went right in the stories where things went right, and you can also kind of navigate somewhat tricky waters. I mean, technology and marketing are so closely tied together that often it can be difficult to separate a real message from, catering to wishful thinking. So having that sort of feedback of someone saying, hey, yeah, this matters a lot. I mean, it at least tells me that I'm doing the right thing.
You definitely are. And we are excited to learn more about you on this show. And it sounds like you've been in the podcasting space for a good number of years, but let's talk about what happened in your life to lead you up to that. What's a little bit of your backstory?
Oh boy, settle in. Just to set up the ridiculousness of my career path. In college, I majored in English literature with a particular focus on medieval and Renaissance lit, and an extra focus on Shakespeare. So if you want me to bust out any Shakespeare, just
go ahead,
tell me.
please.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My liege madam, to expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is, why day is day, night, night, and time is time, were to nothing but to waste night, day, and time. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Your noble son is mad, mad calling it, for to define true madness, what is it to be nothing else but mad? But let that go.
Whoa, that was a mouthful.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
And what was that from?
That would be a little show called Hamlet.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Polonius, who thinks he knows why Hamlet's acting crazy, and he is almost 100% wrong.
Ha! I was going to say, when he said Hamlet, I was like, Hamilton! And then I was like, wrong era.
Oh, not Shakespeare after all.
No, but that was really fun having him on the show. And it's so interesting. I was talking with somebody about podcasting, and they mentioned his name. And I was like, oh, hey, I've met him on my podcast. And they're like, you have? What's he like? I'm like, well, I mean, like, I virtually met him, like, through Clean Feed.
Well, actually, no, we flew him into the studio. What are you talking about? First class. That's how we do it around here.
Yeah, because we're a big deal.
So the next guest we have here on our list of guests for all episodes comes from episode 62, and that was when we had a comedian/actress, Tara Jean O'Brien.
Ooh. So you had this great career in production, but I see on your fabulous bio and resume that you also are a writer, and you've had some pretty fantastic experiences there too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't sleep, guys. We'll just put it that way. I'm just kidding. No, yeah. So I've always written. I think I've done stand up for the last like 6-7 years, and I've always been a comedy writer, and I wrote for The Onion for a while, which was amazing. And some of the funniest effing people in this world write for The Onion. And it's amazing. Like, one of the things I got to see is sort of like there's twice a week pitches, and you sort of see what other people are pitching. And you're just like, man, these are funny people that are smart, like funny, smart people. So that was cool.
Explain to Chris what The Onion is, because he was reading an article a few weeks ago, and he legitimately thought that it was real.
I forgot what it was. I'm like, hey, honey, did you check this out? Did you know that I forget what it was. It sounded like it could have been true. So, but it was like off the wall. I forget what it was though.
But he was like, it's written down, so it's got to be real. It's on the internet.
It's on the internet. It's on this legit website.
Chris, I feel like we have to start over with you. I mean, not everything on the internet is true.
Get out of here.
He thinks Wikipedia is the most reliable source.
It is. It's a pedia. It says in the name.
I can't even with
Chris.
you.
You're so lucky it's your birthday.
I was also told at one point in my life, you're so lucky you're cute. So.
That too. I didn't want to say it. But yeah. I mean, essentially, The Onion is it's a satire magazine. Like, that's what you would call it. It used to be actually physically printed. I don't know if you remember, like, it would be just like the LA Weekly or like any of the like weekly mags for any city. But yeah, so like one of the things, like the one you probably saw is they do just headlines, like funny headlines and topical or evergreen. And it is meant to seem like it's real because it's like funny satire. So
Yeah, I saw the post. I think it was either on Twitter or Instagram, and it was, I forget who posted it and where it came from, but I saw it and I was like, what are they talking about? Because I get most of my news from social media, for the most part, like Twitter and like Instagram and things like that. And I see, what's this headline? And as I saw that, I kind of like, what? What is this about? But I wish I could remember what it was, but it was something crazy like Trump cut his leg off in I don't know, an accident at the White House. I don't know.
That's about right. Yeah.
And I was like, wait a second. Oh.
Now, I also saw that you're a contributing writer to one of my absolute favorite things on the face of the planet, and it's summycards.com.
Oh, really? That's
my gosh.
awesome.
I have like this little book that one of my coworkers bought for me, and they're completely sarcastic and about women in the workplace.
Yes.
I die every time one of those pops up anywhere. So what is that like writing for Summy Cards?
Hey there, K2 crew. We love having you as our loyal listeners.
To keep up to date with what's happening behind the scenes, check us out on social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
And don't forget to follow our Facebook page.
Yeah, tag us in your favorite fun stories, and guess what? You might just end up on the show.
Ooh.
Today's episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. Do you feel like you're stuck in that dinner rut? You know, like, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? Well, with HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients with mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip all those lines at the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. You can now enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in 30 minutes or less. With 25 recipes to choose from each week, there's something for everyone to enjoy.
All recipes are designed and tested by professional chefs and nutritional experts to ensure deliciousness and simplicity. Some of those recipes are chicken and biscuit pot pie with carrots, celery, and fresh thyme, figgy balsamic pork cutlets with roasted green beans and rosemary potatoes, lemon cream chicken cutlets plus dilly potatoes and green beans, and taqueria pork bowls, which is a takeout favorite, with corn esquites, sour cream, and cilantro.
Go to the link in our show notes to get $80 off, including free shipping on HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit. Well, I loved listening to those first 7 clips from our past shows, the Blast from the Past, and I think that we have a little bit more fun in store, right? We're only at the halfway point of these fantastic guests we have in store for you for this 100th episode, which is a spectacular milestone by any means to hit 100 of anything. You think about it, 100 pennies equal $1. Right. And $100 equals a $100 bill. Okay. That was very deep, Kris. And so we have our next clip that is coming up is from a music singer, a country music star. Not only did we get to chat with him and learn about his backstory, but we also got to hear some of his debut music that he was producing. Well, that he was not producing, but that he was creating. What do you even say if they're an artist? Because somebody else produces it. Well, I think you're going too technical on all that stuff. I know, but his musical breaking out, his debut, I'm tripping over my words, but he wasn't. And so we're going to hear from episode 71, Jake Parr. I love it.
There you go. That's what I have, Ford F-150, brand new. Love that thing. She saved my life last year. I had a big rollover crash. Wasn't my fault, but did save my life.
Oh, the airbags went off?
Oh, yeah. I flipped up pretty good.
Wow. Well, see, I knew it. I had this picture of the country music singer, sometimes wearing boots, but always in his truck.
Oh, yeah. I got a truck with an American flag hanging off the back, and I got boots and my guitar's in the back seat always.
Oh, you are doubling down on that.
But also my surfboards are back there in the tailgate, so it's kind of weird.
Well, I grew up in a small town in Central California. I took Kris there recently, and there's a lot of farms around there. And Kris would ask me, well, like, what did you guys do in the evenings growing up? And I said, well, we would go out into the orchards and have bonfires and hang out and dance because it was the thing to do. And I think that your upcoming song has a little bit of something to do with that. Not necessarily Out in the Trees, but let's take a minute and listen to Barn Dance, but tell us about it first.
Yeah. What town were you from, by the way?
Kingsburg in Central California.
Okay, so you've heard of Turlock.
Yes, of course.
I spent a lot of time in Turlock doing exactly what you just said. That's funny.
Yeah, exactly. It's small town, rural life.
Yep. That's kind of what Barn Dance is about. My friend has a farm actually in the town called Camarillo, where we filmed a music video for this song for Barn Dance. Basically a recreation of what we do all the time. He's got, what does he plant? Onions, lemons, all the big crops in the front yard. And in the back, he's got this huge barn with a dance floor in it. And when Borderline, our local country bar, actually, there was a pretty bad shooting there a few years ago. And since then, the bar's been closed. So we wanted something to do. So we would go to his house and we would go line dancing. And that's kind of where I came up with the concept, or we came up with the concept of this song, was just go out and dance. And so that's what we do. We go to Dom's house, we grill some burgers, and we line dance. And it's in a barn in a field. It's back in the country as far as you could be from Southern California, I guess you could say.
Well, that is fantastic. And here it is for you live, Barn Dance by Jake Parr.
I really loved Jake Parr's music.
Oh, he was so upbeat. He was so fun to have on the show. And his music, like Kristine said, was just so great. If you like country music, it's pretty good. And if you don't like country music, it's actually pretty good, I think.
Yeah. And we actually got to interview a couple episodes later his mom, who is a CEO of her own company. And so they just must be quite the family.
Who knew they were even related?
I know. But that was a fantastic interview. Thanks for sharing that one with us. And who do we have up next, Chris?
Oh, next we have from episode 74, Dr. Brown. Not Doc Brown from, Back to the Future.
Yeah, but Dr. Adolph Brown, who was just, gosh, I keep saying that, but I love all of our guests, and I loved the thought-provoking conversation that we had. And I'm kind of a nerd, a brainiac, and anytime that we can talk about stuff that helps stimulate my brain, I just get very excited.
Yeah, Dr. Adolph Brown was all about the power of empathy.
And did you learn anything?
Yes, I did, baby. you can learn things, too, if you check out episode 74. But here is a clip from Dr. Adolph Brown.
So I wanted to walk back just a couple of steps as you were talking a few minutes ago when I asked you about empathy, and you mentioned about empathy related to a police officer and a Black man that might be having an interaction. And what I was wondering is if that digging deep into yourself to try and connect with another person, if you can't find similar feelings to empathize, what happens?
Wow, that's an excellent question. If you can't find those similar feelings, then that distance, that bridge continues to exist. The problem with that is the bridge doesn't stay the same. The brain is at work, and the brain actually will make decisions for us long before we actually think we actively do it, and the gap actually widens. So I would really wish that we taught neuroscience, just parts of neuroscience in public education, private settings, that any orientation that you would have for a job, you would just people would understand that the brain doesn't help us to think. Right. The brain was actually, it helps us to make quick decisions, and it helps us to be efficient. So, I tell people all the time, don't believe everything you think. So, and that bias, when I talk about bias, that's just basically the brain teaching us without our permission. But then the brain doesn't like to be wrong. So if you've ever had a debate with someone and it doesn't seem like they're understanding anything you're saying,
yeah,
it's because the brain is actually looking for confirmation bias. It's looking for evidence in what you're saying that already supports what they think they know. So get beyond that, you got to be purposeful, you got to be intentional, and you got to be present. So this whole conversation is like interconnected, because it's difficult to be present when you have trauma and you're carrying baggage. It's difficult to close the empathy gap when you don't know neuroscience.
Oh,
so
right.
It's circular, but it's all about learning and critical thinking. And I think with regards to critical thinking, my definition is being able to separate your emotions from your thinking. And I don't believe I've watched a television newscast in the last year where I've seen that.
Oh, really?
I loved talking with Doc Brown, and I think that as he was talking about empathy, it helped us to both understand having empathy a little bit differently.
Absolutely. He was great.
Yeah, he absolutely was. And our next clip is a person that's very near and dear to my heart.
Ooh, who is it?
And not just you, but it's episode 76, and it's my Zeke, and it's our Valentine's Day episode. And so I miss him so much. He's been FaceTiming me the last few days. I haven't seen him since last weekend, and I would love to hear my little guy's voice.
The Back to the Future car.
You can do that in the Grand Theft Auto?
I bought it. It's called the Deluxe or the DeLorean.
You can buy that.
I was going to say, I thought that the Back to the Future car wasn't it called like the Millennium Falcon?
No, honey. Gosh. The Millennium Falcon. No, it's not. The Millennium Falcon was in Star Wars.
Oh, what is it called in Back to the Future?
The DeLorean. The DeLorean?
Huh?
The DeLorean.
The DeLorean.
The DeLorean.
The DeLorean is actually the car. That the Back to the Future car is actually is.
All right.
Basically, it's called a DeLorean.
No need to nerd out. All right. So anyways, we want to cut to the punch here, Zeke. So we don't need to know her name, but do you have a Valentine?
I can't hear you. What?
Next question.
Oh.
Okay, Ezekiel, listen. This is going out to millions of fans right now. Millions of people across the world. They want to know. Is Ezekiel. So
actually, it's the opposite. It's only just us listening right now.
Okay, don't worry.
Yes.
Wait. So is this Sarah?
No.
Okay. So
She's a Republican.
Okay. We're not talking politics.
What happened to Sarah?
We got into a big fight.
About what?
About Biden, my favorite president.
Oh, so politics. Yep. Politics can interfere with relationships.
And it can interfere with podcasts too. So we try to steer clear of politics and religion. So we're just going to stick it with love. So we're sticking to love only, Ezekiel. So did you and Sarah ever go on a date?
No.
Oh, you guys never went out? I think you guys went on a date somewhere.
No, Zeke did deliver a very nice gift to her.
Next question, please.
I thought they went out somewhere.
All right. We're going to pause because Ezekiel is getting a little embarrassed and we don't want to put him on the spot. Chris has asked a million questions.
Oh, that's what I do best.
Next question.
Okay, he's asking for the next question.
Okay, no, I'm going to transition for a few minutes because I want to talk about love. We've asked Zeke about...
and yes, I do have a Valentine.
Okay, all right. While he's sharing, what's her name?
Are you seriously you? Okay, fine. Let me call her.
No, we're in the middle of podcasting right now.
We're gonna call her or whatever. But I want to know Zeke told me the story in the car about 10 minutes ago, and he was telling me the story about how he actually met this girl.
Yeah, that's a whole lie. The story.
And can I tell it? Can I say how you? Can you kind of tell it? Or you want to tell
but everything that you just said, that just told you was a lie.
Okay, well, according to Zeke here, okay.
The story according to Zeke.
Okay.
So he was rapping on a big stage in Nashville.
No. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
This is what he told me. He said that the Gem Boys show, they have their own Instagram account, right? And their own podcast. It's
and she found my actual main account.
So she is actually a Gem Boys fan.
What?
And she found the Gem Boys show, and she lives in Tennessee. And she started messaging him on Instagram.
Then we went onto this site where you could talk to random people called Omegle.
Okay, I don't want to hear that you're going on to random sites or you're going to get your internet shut off on your phone.
Yes, definitely. Underage you.
Yeah, no.
So,
I did it.
Okay.
So anyways, this girl messaged him on Instagram, I guess, or something, and starts talking to him. So this girl lives in Tennessee, and she's a fan of Ezekiel and his Gem Boy show.
And what city does she live in Tennessee?
Nashville. She told me today.
Okay. Well, he ended up talking with that young lady for quite a number of weeks.
Oh, are they engaged now?
Oh, come on now. But yeah, it was just an interesting dynamic. And, he's getting so grown up, and he's 6'3" now and deep voiced. And so when I hear his little voice, even just from, a few months ago, he just sounds completely different.
Oh.
But from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic Zeke, he's gone from being like 5'7" or 5'8" and still like looking kind of more like a little boy to now being this giant who calls me Shorty and who has a deep voice and is in his junior year. And I just love my little guy so much.
Oh, I know you miss him because he's not here with us this week. So
don't make me cry.
Oh, that's fantastic. So our next fabulous clip we have comes from episode 79. Now, in episode 79, that was the very first time that we actually got to talk to somebody way, way far away in the great
out of the continental, like North America, somebody from across the pond.
In England or the UK. Is it England or UK? What do you call it?
Well, England is the country. The UK is what it's part of.
Oh, I had no idea. Mm-hmm. So we got to talk to Rory Smith, who was a reporter in the UK. And here is his interview right now.
I didn't care. And they said, you're one to keep.
Oh,
wow. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Now, I am trying to wrap my head around this. What's the equivalent of 50 pence? Like, I don't know the exchange rates. Is it like...
Oh, that's a good question.
Okay, I'm going to have to look it up. Chris, you ask the next question. Now I'm curious.
Okay. Well, so they hired you on, and then after that, how long were you there?
So I was there in total just short of 4 years. So from there, I got a job as a freelance researcher, a freelance runner. And then from there, I got full-time employment as a researcher. I worked in the interactive team, which was looking at all of the social media comments coming through. I worked in the features team, which was making videos. I worked in the fashion teams. I worked in the makeup teams. I worked in the travel teams. I booked the cars. And then I became an assistant producer. And then I eventually got to produce the show. And then I became a news journalist on the show as well. So I sort of worked myself up through the ranks. And I stayed there up to 4 years. Yeah, it was just short of 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow, fantastic. So you're actually on air broadcasting too? Like actually in front of camera?
No, not in that show. So I left there about 2 years ago. 2018 was when I first left, and then I went back for a few freelance shifts until 2019. So I officially left in January 2020. So I'm not working there anymore.
So then what did you decide to break away from that position to do? It seems like, I know you have a YouTube channel, but what came in January 2020 that was like I'm going to go out and be this freelancer on my own?
That's a really good question as well. For me, I've always wanted to be a broadcaster. That's the only thing that I've ever wanted to do. And I think, in sharing this story, the way that I have and got to the stage where I'm at now in it sort of happened like that. It happened really, really fast. And before I knew it, I just woke up and I was a producer, and I, climbed the ladder very quickly through hard work and determination and ambition. And I sort of woke up and went, hang on, I've never wanted to be a producer.
Right.
Earth. Why am I sitting in a seat producing the hosts of the show? I want to be in those chairs. I want to be the host. And I've always wanted to be the host. I've always wanted to be a broadcaster. I've always wanted to listen to people's stories, which, we'll probably talk about later. But for me, I sort of, one thing led to another, and, you were earning the money, and you were enjoying the time that you were there, in the office, and you were getting all of these experiences and learning your craft from all of these different angles. So you didn't have time to sort of get back to your dream. And it was only in 2019 that I said, do you know what? I need to get back to broadcasting. And the reason why I left, I always say that I left twice, is because when I left in 2019, I had a year where I was freelancing. So I was going back to earn money on the news desk. But I was still pursuing my broadcasting ambitions in front of the screen. And I got a few reporter jobs. I was working on BBC One a couple of times for this Saturday morning. It's an iconic Saturday morning show over here, and it was really, really good. But I was still earning the money in the offices. But I said, do you know what? If I'm really determined to do this, if I'm really going to make this work, I just need to cut all ties with office work, and I really need to focus. So after a year of freelancing in 2019, then going back to the offices, that was when in 2020 in January, I says, right, that's it. I am a broadcaster. I am not a producer. I'm not a news desk journalist. I need to focus solely on being in front of the camera.
Well, good on you, buddy. That's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a risk, but I really hope it'll pay off.
That was fantastic having Rory Smith all the way from the UK coming to us live to be on the show.
I know, that was so fun.
He was great, and he's actually one of our biggest fans.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. He's just so kind and generous, and it's always lovely to meet new people.
And it's also lovely to hear from you guys to figure out what we should do for our podcast.
Not just you guys, but all of y'all. You folks.
You gals.
You folks.
All inclusive, I should say. So we got some feedback from you to describe what we should possibly incorporate into the podcast as suggestions.
Right. But I have to say something, because you all have come to know Kris very well through this show. And since we did the positive reviews that were bright and shining and so positive, we couldn't just leave it at positive. Kris has to say, what's the negative? Give me the bad feedback. I want to get better, Mr. Grump Grump.
Well, I think it's always good to have feedback that you should embrace.
Continuously improve.
That's right.
I just like sunshine and roses.
I do too, but I always like improving, reinventing the wheel. You know what I'm saying?
Well, don't reinvent the wheel. Create a new wheel.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. Fantastic.
Okay. Well, let's see. What are some of the things? Now, first of all, what's the source of this data?
Is this
like random people that just like message you on Instagram?
No, those are a different file for a different folder for a different day. This actually came from our survey we did a while back. We did a podcast survey, and we asked a bunch of questions: whether you like the show, what do you like about the show.
Did you actually get good data from that, or did you just get spammers?
I got about 10 to 20,000 responses on there.
How many were valid?
About 20 or 25,000-ish.
No.
So I had to go through there and filter all of those out and weed out.
You had to?
Well, our data expert, Kristine, had to go through that.
And then you didn't like how I sorted the data, so you had to do it yourself, right?
Something like that. So here is some of those responses on improvement. We had a question, how to improve the show. So one of them says, I hope there will be more dating shows in the future, and I hope you will be better and better. Okay,
before we go into this one, I have to preface this by saying there are some really random comments that came through, and it was hard to figure out which ones were like actual feedback. And so we hope that these are actual humans and not just robots. But the next one that I pulled as the one that I wanted to highlight is we got a comment that we should talk more about cars.
Of course we do.
You always talk about cars.
I think I wrote that one actually. I think about it. That's my comment. Thank you.
Well, good.
Okay. The next one we have here is, could you invite some sports experts as guests?
Oh.
So if you are a sports expert or a coach of a major team, you are more than welcome to be on our show. Also, if you are a sports player, say, hey, Tom Brady, what's up? You want to come on our show? We are more than welcome for that too.
And another piece of feedback we got is you can add some more interactive programs to get the audience involved. And I really do like that because, we'll say, message us, DM us. Maybe we need to do more things. And I don't think it's just giveaways. I think it's like other ways that people can get involved with giving us input to get better.
Right. And you always can reach us on our website and our social media and all that fun stuff.
Absolutely. What is that website?
It is www.krisandkristineshow.com. And that is both spelled with the letter K for the name.
Because we're fantastic.
And the next thing, the listing I have on my list here, it just says invite more celebrities. So if you are a celebrity and you're listening to the show, you're more than welcome to come on to the Kris and Kristine show.
You just said if you're a celebrity and if you're listening, it should be to all of those celebrities who are listening because we know we have thousands, right,
That's
Kris?
right. Listen, we don't bite. Well, come on over. The water's warm. Come right in. It's great.
We're not sharks. We're not going to tell all of your secrets. But then the last piece of feedback is to make it more entertaining. So what do you think about that, Kris? Do you think we're entertaining enough?
I think I try to make it as entertaining as I possibly can make it. I do everything here, producer-wise and design-wise for the show. I mean, Kristine is the angel that shows up every week for the show.
You.
And I get all of her stuff she wants. All of her green M&Ms are taken out of the bowl, of course, and we have it put right here in her green room as she comes in.
No, I just want red Skittles. That's all I want.
Yes,
and just yellow gummy bears. It's not that much to ask.
I know. I'm working on it. Our showrunner's working on it.
And it needs to be 68.3 degrees, not 0.5.
I know. You fired poor Joe. You fired him because he was off a degree.
And then my flowers that were in the room, I asked for no sunflowers, and they gave me 3 sunflowers, and how dare them?
I thought that you meant sunflower seeds. I told Joe, I don't know what you were talking about.
But that's been fantastic. We do love getting feedback from you all, and so please keep it coming.
Okay, and for our next group of people, I do say people. This is the first time we actually had like a ton of people on the podcast at the same time.
Right. We had like more than just 2 guests.
Right. We had Mindy, Derek, and Kris, and Kristine, and myself, Kris, here. All over the studio.
Yeah, that was hard because it was like Kris and Kris, and so didn't we start calling him Money Kris?
Yeah, I think so. This is from episode 81, and we were talking about COVID shots because the COVID shot kind of first came out. I was kind of upset that I didn't get a chance to get one.
You mean the vaccine?
I'm sorry. We call it the COVID shot, but the
we who?
Myself. And
okay, you, yourself, and you. And we're gonna hear from Mindy, Derek Duval, and Money Kris.
I was going to say, I feel like, telling people, I'm fully vaccinated feels like the new I'm single and ready to mingle, except for I'm not single. But I am ready to mingle.
Right. Or the I voted sticker. I think I saw Derek posting his I got shot sticker.
I got
horrible.
Shot sticker. I got shot.
They just give those out at the hospital now or the emergency room?
Have you, Kris, you read Urban Dictionary like I do. I know you do. Did you see the new word for the last week? Vaxholes.
What?
Oh, yeah. And that's
people who walk in the room like, oh, yes, but I am vaccinated means you're a vaxhole.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so then I guess I'm one of those because I have to travel in like a week and a half, and I was actually thinking of wearing my I got shot or whatever it was stickers as I travel.
I got shots.
It's like I got shot in Tulsa, and here's the T-shirt. It's like, good Lord.
You guys, seriously, we need to like patent this or trademark it, and people will buy these up. We will be millionaires. Be like, got shots, and then have
T-shirts.
like syringes next to it.
Right, definitely. Pass them out, sell them or whatever on Amazon.
No.
Or some other reputable site.
I heard Amazon's a fantastic place. I heard it's great. The leader in chief, what's his name? Bezos. He's a nice guy.
No comments. Crickets. He's going to delete that section. Don't you guys worry.
Maybe
trying to gaslight us.
Yeah, not a good thing. But
they are opening a new facility down here in San Diego. They're opening up, I think, one big massive warehouse by the border where they're going to smuggle drugs into from the border tunnels.
Oh my god!
Oh,
cool.
That's pretty good.
So they're
really
expanding.
Do you know what that's called?
What
that's called? Entrepreneurship.
It's called, differentiating your product.
Supply and demand, man.
When I used to work down there by the border there, all the warehouses, they'd have these, this one warehouse got popped. It was a big deal in the news because they had like literally an underground tunnel. Like in the warehouse, they'd have like a hatch and they opened it up and then down went to the tunnel into Mexico where they smuggled the drugs. Like trucks were always picking up, but they never dropped off.
You are on a roll today. Let's get back to vaccine talk. So you both have been, or all 3 of you have had both vaccines.
Yeah,
Did you
Pfizer.
I was just going to ask Pfizer, Moderna, or the Johnson & Johnson?
I got the Pfizer. What'd you get, Mindy?
I got the Moderna.
Okay.
Kris?
Why'd you get something different?
Because that's what I work for a healthcare system, not in healthcare. I'm not a frontline person, but I work for a healthcare system and that's what they had. So that is what I took.
Okay.
And then Kris, what did you get?
I'm team Pfizer.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this, but after you get your vaccine, you kind of join a gang basically for that vaccine.
I got you.
Well, that was like almost like foreshadowing for what's happening now in California, where the California governor just came out like, a week ago with a mandate that all school teachers, public school employees have to be vaccinated. Like they just have to be vaccinated, or they have to go through, I don't know if it's weekly, but
I
it's
think it's
regular.
daily. Is it
It's
daily?
not daily COVID testing. It's like weekly, I think.
Oh, wow. It's crazy. Yeah.
Maybe it's not weekly, but it's pretty quick.
You know, I saw some funny meme today, or was it yesterday, about people saying that, like, you know, they always say, I don't know what's in the COVID vaccine. I'm not taking it. I don't know what's in it. But you think about hot dogs, what's in that? You know,
Chicken nuggets.
chicken nuggets, some other stuff that you might, or another lady posted. It was so funny. I'm going to keep it PG if I can. But she's basically saying hooking up with a guy at a club at night. You don't know what is going
What's in that person?
Right.
I kept it PG because I knew which way you were going. So it is very true. But, you know, everybody has their different perspectives on it. But yeah, it's definitely been an interesting conversation locally, statewide, nationally around vaccines, vaccine status. And it was so fun to have 3 guests on the show. Plus us, it was like Party 5.
Party City. Okay, and for our next clip, we have it from episode 82, and that was the great SP Stargate pioneer himself. He is a podcaster. He's got lots of podcasts. He actually does another podcast about podcasting. He loves sci-fi movies, and he's actually a rocket scientist.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. We had a great conversation with him about so many interesting things that were mind-blowing, and we're going to hear from him now.
Did you watch Friends?
Friends? Like
Yeah, the TV show Friends.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so there was a movie called Lost in Space with Joey in it.
Yeah. I don't think it did very well. I don't think.
I like it though. I'll watch that.
It didn't, but yeah, I think she would like that.
That's fun. Well, thanks for digressing onto little movie recommendations for me, but we would love to learn more about you separate from your work. So tell us a little bit more about you in your personal life. Do you have a family? You mentioned kiddos. What's up?
Yeah, I do have 3 kids. I have a older daughter. She'll be 27 later on this year. I have a son who will be 25, and I have a daughter who is in college, and she'll be 19 this year. And she's the one that is going to have the puppy. And I didn't finish the story there. So she's in college right now. She lives in an apartment. She is going to be changing apartments from a couple of roommates to living alone. And that's why she wanted the dog, because she did not want to be alone, and she wanted the dog. And she does live a couple hours away. But during the summer, she's actually going to come home and live with me. And that means that I'm going to have a puppy for a couple of months. Yay, me.
Yay.
Do you have any other dogs right now?
No.
No.
He said he didn't.
Okay. Okay. Oh, it's going to be okay. Fun.
Now,
time.
did you mention that you are going to get one of the, I was going to say therapy dogs, but the like assistance
CCI?
dogs? Yeah, to train over the next year? Or is that
No.
just something you've done in the past?
Yeah, that is something I've done in the past. And I honestly have not been able to get over the loss of my last dog. So it's just going through that process. Maybe having this puppy in here will try to, kick
Spark
me in
that
the butt.
joy, yeah.
Yeah, maybe again, because those final months were really tough for me.
Oh, sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, I grew up on a family that had a family farm, and I didn't really realize it at the time, but I probably get my affinity towards these animals from my grandfather, who we milked cows and had 120 head of cows, which is a lot for a family farm. And it just never dawned on me that he became so attached to some of these cows that when he had to send them off to the slaughterhouse or whatever, he would be miserable for a couple of weeks. And I just honestly, I didn't get it at the time, but now I definitely do. And he had to do that almost on a daily basis. And here I am, just like, boo-hoo, with just one dog,
Now, I heard to help you guys get through that, it was to not name the cows that help.
Yes, they all had numbers. They did not have names.
Right. 'Cause
Yeah.
if you start naming them, that's what I heard. Then it becomes really hard to, send them off that way. It's got to be rough. So, hey, SP, so it says here in my little notes, it says that your eldest daughter is getting married in October. Well, congratulations.
Yes, she is getting married in October. She's been dating this guy for 8 years. So,
Wow. 8
quote,
years.
it's about time, unquote,
man,
sort of
wow.
thing. There was a ultimatum given, and they went to go visit his parents over Christmas who live in Arizona. They went to the Grand Canyon. And this is during COVID time, so I'm kind of impressed that they were able to pull this off. So they went to the Grand Canyon, and he proposed to her in the Grand Canyon.
That's so sweet.
Did they go to the very bottom of the Grand Canyon?
Well, they did one of the rim trails, so it was only a day trip. They just drove to the side and took one of the rim trails down. They were in the Grand Canyon for about 6 hours, from what I heard. But
wow,
yeah.
Okay, now you said though that there was an ultimatum. How do you feel about that? That she had to give an ultimatum.
And how do you feel about that, babe? Giving ultimatums?
Why are you looking at me like in an accusatory way? I don't give you ultimatums. I only give you like ultramatums.
Oh, what's that? Is there a difference?
Yes, it's a very big difference because it includes stomping my feet and throwing a tantrum.
Hold your breath. You ever hold your breath? No, I'm not doing it.
I'm not breathing until
You're huffing a
you
puffet.
take me to Target.
I've heard that one.
That at the same time.
I know. We've heard that one before.
But that was a fantastic clip. And we are going to come up to our very last clip of this 100th episode. And that is going to be with episode 89, who is Jessica Stone, a news reporter. And I loved this interview with her because she just gave us such a different understanding of what it's like to live the life of a reporter / photojournalist, journalist, all of those things.
It is from episode 89, and here it is.
And so I just think there's an appetite to make money because we've just seen this horrible thing happen to our country. It affected our economy. I think it's more than we realize affected our psyche and our psychology. We're lonely, we're isolated, and we're not making the best decisions. And we're very divided politically. So, you're not even talking to people you might have talked to that might actually be able to talk some sense into you if they have a different political point of view.
So going on that note with the political divide and with you being in journalism, so you got CNN is obviously very left and you got Fox is obviously very right. Is there kind of like, what is Kristine's looking at me, kind of give me a funny look over there, but I'm saying that like, when you are a journalist, are you kind of persuaded when you are working for one side or the other to like, you have to kind of lean a particular way?
So this is where my generation will show itself more than my training, because I haven't been in school in 20 years. But my generation of journalists was definitely taught that there were many sides to a story, and that truth exists. And I firmly believe that it does, and it's discoverable. And you're not going to get all of it; you'll get pieces of it, but you form the best picture that you can, and you do that by listening to multiple voices and not going in with a predetermined point of view. However, I'm starting to notice in younger journalists that they think that they are here to advocate for a position. They think they are here to advocate for a social justice position or particular point of view on gender or race or religion or ethnicity, and I don't come from that training or that persuasion. And we are going to have a clash in our newsrooms with those ideologies competing with each other. What has happened to news more broadly is certainly that the commercialization of news has caused news to take a position. And I've worked for Fox News. Their evening hosts take a position. They have news products that don't take a position consistently or take a center-right position. I would argue that that they spearheaded a lot of the opinion journalism on television. They basically took talk radio and put it on TV, and it was wildly successful. AM radio moved to TV. A lot of the hosts that they moved to TV were right off radio. The Rush Limbaughs that Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh are the same generation of radio broadcasters. So. And then, everybody else had to react. One thing most people don't know is that MSNBC, remember, it's Microsoft NBC. That's what MSNBC means. Initially was going to be a right of center broadcaster. Tried it. They wasn't getting viewers, so it went far left. CNN used to be in the middle. Jeff Zucker from NBC took over. They decided they were not going to stay in the middle. And I think they arguably surrendered the only reason people were watching them, which was that they were supposed to be in the middle.
That was fantastic.
Yep, fantastically fascinating. It definitely was. And that wraps up all of our clips from some of our most memorable guests from our first 100 episodes. So, Kris, now that we have hit this milestone and we've been so looking forward to it, what's next for the Kris and Kristine show?
Well, the Kris and Kristine show is just going to get landing our new studio on the moon.
Fantastic. And, it's a little bit of a commute, but we're still committed to getting an episode out to you every week. We're just going to take one for the team. And, I know Kris talks about being busy all the time, and this is just going to make him busier. So are you driving us there in one of your trucks?
Actually, we're going to use Clean Feed to remote broadcast to the moon.
Perfect. So perfect, because it's the new capabilities. And speaking of Clean Feed, we didn't get to actually have the creators of Clean Feed as guests on this show. We did on Podtastic Audio. But all of this wouldn't have been possible getting to 100 episodes if it wasn't for the brains behind Clean Feed, Mark and Mark, who we love dearly. This is not a sponsored post, but we just want to give a huge shout out to our buddies over at Clean Feed for making this dream of Kris's and mine be able to come to fruition with bringing so many fantastic guests from around the globe onto our show.
Oh, that was well said, babe.
Thanks.
Yeah, without Clean Feed, none of this technology that we use for this podcast would be possible, because that's how we connect. All of our guests have come through Clean Feed. In fact, right now, we are recording this entire episode
on Clean Feed,
live in real time.
Yeah,
on Clean Feed.
So that's the thing, is there's no second takes on this one. You got the real deal. It's as close to live radio as you can get today on this 100th episode, and I'm really proud of us for being able to make it through, Kris. We did a great job. So air high five without hitting the mics. Ready?
Pow. Thank you so much.
There we go. Good job, babe, on getting us to 100 episodes.
Oh, you are so welcome. This has been quite a crazy journey, because if you remember, when we first started, I said, hey, babe, want to try podcasting? And you're like, I don't know,
Still some days I say that.
That is true. But I didn't know, we started doing the podcast just playing with my kid's Xbox headphone thing he had, and I was like, I guess I can plug this in the computer and play with it, but then how do I get another microphone? How do we make that happen?
All right. Everybody's heard this before, honey, 17 times. Bottom line is, you are the brains behind the operation. Can I just be the beauty?
Oh, you always beautiful.
Do I have
baby.
a beautiful voice? Do I count for that?
Oh, you always do, baby.
Thank you. And so, friends, thank you for tuning in with us for this 100th episode. We're super grateful to have been here with you, and we hope that you'll stay along on our journey as we learn and grow and get to know you even more, right, Kris?
Absolutely. And if you want to find out more, you always go to our website, www.krisandkristineshow.com.
And that's Kris and Kristine with K's, and we will be back here with you
next week.